Hi, I'm Casey DeSola, and today we're going to talk about 4-mallet keyboard percussion. In this book, we're going to use what we call the Stevens grip. It's created by marimbist Lee Howard Stevens. This grip is pretty versatile. It allows us to hold 2 mallets in one hand and control our interval changes pretty easily. So to build the grip, I'm going to take my first mallet. I'm going to put it underneath the muscular or kind of fatty part of my thumb. I'm then going to make a trigger with my pointer finger, and the mallet's going to lay underneath the thumb and over top of the pointer finger. I'm not going to hold that mallet in place. It's actually going to stay via leverage, so I can tip my hand over and the mallet won't fall out. That's really important. If we start to grip the mallet, it's then going to shift in our hand, cause some other problems later down the road. The outside mallet is then going to fit between my middle and fourth finger, and I'm going to anchor that mallet with my pinky and fourth finger, just like we used for the 2-mallet grip. That's why I like to use that kind of a universal technique there. And then my middle finger is going to lay alongside the inside mallet. So I'm now going to match that grip in my left hand, and I'm going to take all 4 mallets and put them down on the keyboard. And here's another chance to look at some checkpoints to make sure we're holding the grip correctly. We want to see our T fulcrum pointing to the ceiling, so my thumb and pointer finger should both be pointing straight up. My pointer finger should be slightly extended and pointing towards the center. So if I model both hands, my pointer finger should be pointing towards one another. We want to make sure that all 4 mallets are resting on the same spot on the bar. It's important that the outside mallets aren't super high or super low. We want to make sure all of them align in the center of the bar. And then we see a nice relaxed elbow bend. Don't want to be too far away from the instrument where my arms are straight or too close where my elbows are behind my body. So we want to see a nice relaxed elbow bend, maybe just slightly above 90 degrees. So our first stroke type we're going to talk about is our double vertical stroke. This stroke utilizes a chopping motion from the wrist. Before we even work on playing with 4 mallets, we're actually just going to work on playing with 1, specifically the outside mallet. I'm going to hold the outside mallet with my back 2 fingers as I would be if I was holding the full grip. Before I play, I'm going to make sure my thumb and pointer finger make that T fulcrum just like they would if I had the other mallet in there. So we're going to isolate just the outside mallet here. Again, I want to utilize what we call a chopping motion. Again, just comes from the wrist. Lee Howard Stevens calls this the wrist pop motion, where the mallet comes down, my wrist pops up, and then when my mallet rebounds, my wrist goes down. You'll also notice that this follows the same principles we talked about with our piston stroke or natural stroke, where I'm starting above the keyboard and returning to the same height after I hit the keyboard. In the book here, we talk about some easy outside mallet scale exercises. You can also use the double stop exercise to work on this skill. But what we're really looking for is keeping our T fulcrum facing up and using the wrists in a chopping motion the entire time as I play. Once we've worked on just the outside mallet exercises and we've maintained that fulcrum facing up using that chopping motion, we then are going to pick up all 4 mallets and we can play through the double vertical exercises in the book. Some checkpoints here as we play. Again, we want to utilize that piston or natural stroke by starting in the up position. Notice that my mallets are above my wrists. That's going to kind of help us remember to get the mallets back up to that same starting position. I'm going to use that chopping motion. I'm going to make sure that all 4 mallets are going to touch the keyboard at the same time and then return to the same height. Again, notice that my wrist is the primary mover, not the arm or elbow. The next stroke type we're going to talk about is the single independent stroke. This essentially means that one mallet is going to move by itself without really affecting the other. The nomenclature or names of these strokes are really easy to memorize. Essentially, they're named after how many mallets and what motion they're doing. So single independent stroke simply means that one mallet is moving independently of the other. If we think about our double vertical stroke, double meaning both mallets are moving vertically. So it's kind of super easy to memorize the stroke types as we talk about them. My single independent stroke, a good way to begin to practice this is to think about what we call a turn the doorknob motion. So it's in direct contrast to the chopping motion we just talked about. The turn the doorknob motion or lateral motion is the primary mover here with the next three stroke types. I'm going to start with my mallets again in the up position, and I'm going to work on rotating my inside mallet. So I'm going to actually hold the tip of my outside mallet, and I'm going to drop the inside down and back up. Something else I like to do is take my forearm, and I kind of use that as a benchmark. So I drop the mallet down and try to hit my forearm after every single stroke. Again, just kind of helps me remember to naturally rebound after every stroke. So again, as I'm playing, I'm focusing on rotating around the outside mallet, and you'll see a little bit of a turn here in the outside mallet. And as I practice, I eventually am going to start to take my hand away, and I should maintain the same exact approach without having lots of vertical motion from the outside mallet. So if I take that hand away, slowly, it's going to look like this, where we don't see a lot of vertical motion from the outside mallet. We just want a rotation where we see this mallet turn. And I can do the same thing by holding the inside mallet and rotating the outside. The next stroke type we're going to talk about are our single alternating strokes. This differs from our single independent strokes because here we do actually use the momentum of one mallet to affect and start the momentum of another. In the book we have the chromatic fifths exercise, some others as we get to level 2 and level 3 that kind of work on this stroke specifically. But what I like to do here is to start with just one hand, and what I'm looking for is a slight prep stroke to initiate the next mallet. So you notice that instead of my mallets being at the same height, they're going to be slightly off kilter as I play. And that's what allows me to start and kind of prep the next mallet to move through the stroke. This stroke type is used to play faster passages on the keyboard. It allows us a little bit more facility, and it also allows us to be a little more relaxed as we play. We're not focusing on just one mallet moving. We're actually using both in tandem. The next stroke type we're going to talk about are our double laterals. Here we have a similar motion, again, the lateral wrist motion, but we actually have one wrist movement and two strokes. Differs from our single independent strokes where we have one wrist movement, one stroke. For our double lateral strokes, we're going to, again, start above in the up position, and I'm going to turn my wrist once, bringing one mallet down to the keyboard and then the other right afterwards, and then both mallets come back to that same starting position. Stroke type in real time looks like this. Again, notice that one mallet is coming down and then initiates and moves through the second stroke as that mallet recovers. This stroke type is primarily used for rolls, sustaining sound on the instrument. When I play my double laterals together, it sounds like this. This has been an overview of 4-mallet technique and our beginning stroke types. Thanks for watching.